On Thursday, March 12, 2026, day 13 of Operation Epic Fury, a television anchor in Tehran sat in front of a camera and read aloud a message from a man the world has still never seen. No video, no audio, no press conference, just words on a page attributed to Mojtaba Khamenei, the 56-year-old cleric who 4 days earlier had been named Iran's third Supreme Leader after his father was killed in the opening strikes of this war. His mother was killed, his wife was killed, members of his family were buried in rubble that he himself was pulled from, wounded, with a fractured foot he has never been photographed standing on, and what his first words to the world contained was not a ceasefire offer, not a diplomatic signal, not a path toward resolution. It was a locked door, slammed shut, bolted, with the key thrown into the Strait of Hormuz. Here is what this video is about. Iran has now placed 3 official conditions on the table for ending this war, and when you understand what those 3 conditions actually require, and what the United States can never politically accept, you realize that the door to a negotiated end has been locked from both sides, not by accident, but by design. And every day that door stays locked, oil climbs higher, groceries get more expensive, and the most dangerous waterway on Earth stays shut. In this deep dive, we are going to break down exactly what Mojtaba Khamenei said in his first statement, what it signals to intelligence agencies watching every word. We are going to walk through all 3 ceasefire conditions Iran has put on the record and explain why each one is a political impossibility for Washington, and we are going to answer the question everyone is asking: how does a war end when neither side can afford to be the one who blinks? To understand why this statement matters so much, you have to understand the context it arrived in. For 4 days after being appointed Supreme Leader on March 8th, Mojtaba Khamenei said nothing. His own succession rally in Tehran happened without him. Supporters held up photographs because there was no living person to stand beside. Intelligence agencies across the world were asking the same question: is this man functional? Is he in control? Or is someone else running Iran right now? Then on March 12th, the answer came, sort of. A written statement read by a state TV anchor disseminated through a newly created Telegram channel. CNN's analysis noted the statement was laden with coded symbolism for his domestic base. And Al Jazeera's reporter in Tehran said it signaled a willingness to ramp up the intensity of the conflict, not wind it down. Here's what was in it. First, a vow of revenge, not one act of retaliation, and then negotiations. Every Iranian killed is, in his words, a case for vengeance in itself. As of today, the Al Jazeera casualty tracker puts the Iranian death toll above 1,300. Each one, according to this statement, is its own open account. That is not the language of a government preparing for a ceasefire. Second, he addressed the Strait of Hormuz directly. He called the closure a tool to pressure the enemy, not a temporary measure, not a bargaining chip to be traded away. A tool, something you use until you get what you want. The International Energy Agency in its March report called this the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. Nearly 20 million barrels per day of crude and petroleum products that normally flow through that strait have been reduced to a trickle, and Gulf countries have already cut production by at least 10 million barrels per day because they have nowhere to put the oil that cannot ship. Third, he warned Gulf Arab states to shut down American bases on their soil, or those bases will continue to be struck. And he was not bluffing. In the hours around this statement, Iranian forces hit targets across 5 Gulf countries, including a strike on Kuwait International Airport, damage to a Japanese-flagged container ship in the Persian Gulf, and Saudi Arabia intercepting drones targeting Riyadh. Fourth, and this is the part that made analysts sit up, he said studies have been conducted on opening new fronts where the enemy has little experience and is highly vulnerable. He did not specify where. The deliberate vagueness is the message. It tells Washington, you do not know what comes next. Here is the dirty truth about what this statement did to your money within minutes of it being read on air. Brent crude, the global oil benchmark, jumped 9% and closed above $100 a barrel for the first time since August 2022. That is a $20 increase since the war began on February 28th, when oil was trading around $80. The IEA had just announced the largest emergency reserve release in history, 400 million barrels from 32 member nations, and the market shrugged it off completely. As ING strategists put it, the only way oil trades lower on a sustained basis is getting oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran's new leader just told the world he intends to keep it shut. The stock market felt it immediately. The S&P 500 fell 1.52% on March 12th, closing at its lowest point of 2026. stocks. The Dow dropped 739 points. The Nasdaq shed 1.78%. As of today, the S&P is down roughly 3% since the war started, with Goldman Sachs modeling scenarios where Brent averages $98 through March and April. But the part most coverage is skipping is the agricultural chain. Qatar is one of the world's largest producers of nitrogen-based fertilizers, the chemicals that grow the corn and wheat and soybeans that feed people and livestock globally. And those exports flow through the same strait that is now closed. Spring planting season in the American Midwest begins in 4 to 6 weeks. Farmers are making fertilizer purchasing decisions right now, and if supplies stay disrupted, the harvest this fall will be smaller. The food price increase you feel at the grocery store by late summer will not be a spike. It will be structural, reflecting a reduced yield traced directly back to a 21-mile strait that one man just declared must stay shut. This is where the situation moves from an economic crisis to a strategic impasse. On March 11th, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian posted 3 conditions on X after phone calls with the leaders of Russia and Pakistan. These are not rumors or back-channel whispers. These are official, public, on-the-record demands from the government of Iran. Condition 1, recognition of Iran's legitimate rights, which in diplomatic translation means formal acceptance of Iran's right to a nuclear program under Iranian control. The entire stated justification for launching Operation Epic Fury was to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Trump said it, Defense Secretary Hegseth said it at multiple Pentagon briefings. Accepting this condition would mean publicly declaring that the 7 Americans who died in combat and the 4 crew members killed in today's KC-135 crash in Iraq gave their lives for nothing, and that is politically impossible for any American president. Condition 2, reparations for war damage caused by US and Israeli strikes. The Pentagon has confirmed more than 5,000 targets struck, nuclear facilities destroyed, Revolutionary Guard infrastructure dismantled. No United States administration in modern history has paid war reparations to a country it bombed. The concept is not just politically toxic, it is constitutionally unprecedented and would require congressional approval. Condition 3, binding international guarantees backed by international law that neither the United States nor Israel will ever attack Iran again. Getting a US president to sign a legally enforceable non-aggression treaty with Iran would require Senate ratification, a Senate that just watched 11 American service members come home in flag-draped coffins would need to ratify a permanent promise to never act against the country those soldiers died fighting. That scenario does not exist in any visible political reality. The Jerusalem Post reported today that senior officials from Oman, Egypt, Pakistan, and Turkey are holding behind-the-scenes talks, trying to get Iran to even begin discussions, and so far, Iran has refused. Drop a comment right now. Do you think these 3 demands are realistic, or are they a starting position designed to be negotiated down? Tell me what you think before I show you why the psychology of this moment makes compromise nearly impossible. Finally, we have to talk about the psychology of the man behind that locked door, because this is where the analysis gets genuinely unsettling. Mojtaba Khamenei is not his father. His father spent 37 years building the authority to say no to the IRGC's most extreme proposals. Mojtaba has been supreme leader for 5 days, and he owes the position entirely to the Revolutionary Guards who elevated him. Alex Vatanka at the Middle East Institute said it plainly. He is not going to be as supreme as his father was. He cannot overrule the IRGC. He does not have the political capital. The IRGC does not negotiate through him. They govern through him. And there is something darker underneath that. This is a man whose father, mother, and wife were killed in the same airstrike that wounded him. He was pulled from rubble and told he now runs a country under bombardment. CNN noted that his statement contained no off-ramp, no indication of what an acceptable outcome would look like, just threats and a promise of revenge. Imagine being asked to negotiate a peace deal with the country that killed your family 13 days ago. Imagine the domestic audience watching you, millions of displaced Iranians, a nation watching its cities bombed, expecting you to show strength. The political pressure on this man is entirely in one direction, and it is not toward compromise. Rob Geist-Pinfold at King's College London said it directly, "What we are hearing is more of the same. Rather than a change in rhetoric, it is a doubling down." And an Iran analyst told CNN the statement offers Iranians and Iran's neighbors nothing short of eternal strife. So how does this end? Here is what I am watching. Today, March 13th, a US military refueling plane crashed in western Iraq, killing 4 crew members, bringing American deaths to 11, and that number is going to keep climbing. The Lloyds of London War Risk Committee holds holds its weekly review today, and their decision on Gulf insurance premiums is the actual gatekeeper for whether commercial tankers start moving. Watch Lloyd's more than you watch the Pentagon. Over the weekend, tankers that have been anchored outside the Persian Gulf since March 2nd reached the point where crew contracts and cargo obligations force a decision, move or retreat, and a single successful transit would break the psychological blockade. But the most important thing to watch is not the military action. It is whether the back channel between U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Iranian representatives produces any response at all. Iran has not responded to American proposals, and if there is still no response by the weekend, the window for quick diplomatic resolution begins to close. The door is locked from both sides. Iran cannot accept terms that look like surrender to an audience of displaced millions. America cannot accept terms that make the sacrifice of 11 service members look pointless. And every day that door stays locked, oil stays above $100, groceries get more expensive, retirement accounts shrink, and a 21-mile strait stays shut. This is not a war moving toward its conclusion. This is a war settling into a longer, more expensive, more dangerous phase for soldiers, for civilians, for energy markets, and for every ordinary person whose gas bill and grocery receipt are connected invisibly but directly to the decisions being made right now by a man the world has never seen, speaking through a television anchor from behind a locked door. Subscribe, turn on notifications. The door is locked, but the next 72 hours will tell us whether anyone is even looking for the key. When Mojtaba Khamenei appears on camera for the first time, when the ceasefire channel produces a response or collapses, I will have it here the same way I covered this. Evidence first, analysis second, what it means for you always. One question in the comments: do you think these three demands are real conditions or an opening position? And if they are real, how does this war end?